Hi there. This is a Gauntlet broadcast hangout game, and we're playing Space Wurm versus Moonicorn by John Stone Metzger. We're using his quick play rules, which I played with John Stone before. An amazing, amazing designer, and his decision to make a quick play for this game, I cannot applaud enough. It is such a good idea because the campaign style of the game looks amazing, but to try and get in a quick game, this quick play brings so much of the flavor and so much of what he designed into it, and I think that is a super cool idea, and other people should emulate it. It is a wonderfully beautiful book. I urge people to go out and get it. Artwork in it is phenomenal. It's nice, big, and shiny. It's a lovely book. So if people like it, you should go get it. I have some fantastic players with us, and we're going to be picking our characters. We will have to have a Moonicorn, and we will have to have a Space Wurm because, as the name implies, they're sort of central to our story. And we'll go over them in a kind of a minute. And then everyone else will be picking from a whole slew of cool characters. They are all a little bit iconic, but then we're going to give them flavor in our character development. I want to go over first that this is a Gauntlet game. It has the Gauntlet inclusivity policy. It is a safe space where we should all feel like we can have fun. To go along with that, we are going to have the X card in play, which any of you who haven't heard of it before, feel free to put up your hands like this, put something in the chat, say something to me, say, can I X that? I'll take it back. I may ask for a clarification just so I'll know what I'm trying to move around. We'll go back, I'll reframe, and off we'll go. This is here for all of us to have the most fun. I have no problems whatsoever reframing. So please feel free to use it. And, the point is, if it's something's just not making you comfortable, or it's not a fun part of the game, then we want to fix it. So please feel free to use it. I'm going to start by asking players what they might like to play. Would anyone like to volunteer for Space Wurm? Anybody? Or Moonicorn? Anybody want to say they'd like to play Moonicorn?
I might be willing to give Space Wurm a try.
Alrighty, Michael.
Were you going to say something? Sorry.
And yeah, I can jump on Moonicorn. Space Wurm's a bit too close to some of characters I've gotten bad feedback about playing, so I don't think I should indulge that.
Okay. All right, then. So you have Moonicorn, and Michael, you'll be taking on Space Wurm. Cool. And you'll see that in our character keeper that Patrick has already been nice enough to kind of put down the stats and the moves for them. Now, because all of these other playbooks are completely unique, their stats are different, their moves, even their basic moves, are all different. That isn't in there, so you can maybe cut and paste. Don't know how well that work, or maybe even just put a little header to let you remember that you've got them there. I have all the playbooks, so I'll try and also give little keywords or hit you with them as you get them. But that'll give you something to remind you on there. So why don't Space Wurm and Moonicorn both go ahead and start getting a look over theirs. And I would like to ask right off the bat for Space Wurm to do his Space Tyrant move, which you'll see there on the sheet. Mm-hmm. We're going to choose 2 sectors that you control.
Well, first of all, I just sent a request to edit the sheet. So let's see. So we've got
if you reload the page, I think you should be able to edit now. Sorry, I didn't have it set to open.
I think I've got it. Yes. All right. So here are our potential sectors. We have Alien, Cybernetics, the Imperial Throne, Interstellar Transport, Religion, the Secret Police, and the Spice. So let's
And which two do you want to have control of? Or does anybody want to ask real quick, like a quick summary definition of what these are? Do any of these require a little bit of a definition real quick?
Maybe aliens, everything else, and maybe even the spice, although I could, if it's like Dune spice.
Well, spice is one of the I think one of the cooler things in here, in that it's like a currency. It doesn't have to be that drug that spice is. It is a thing that is extremely valuable. That could be entertainment. It could be some sort of mineral, something that makes all the ships run, but it is a precious thing that the entire galaxy needs.
Okay.
And the aliens, we go off of a sort of concept that we are mostly humanoids, even if we're not all from like Earth, which we almost certainly will not be. But we are all basically humanoids. Alien is those species that are foreign, different. We have encountered them, and choosing to have them involved would mean that they're part of the galaxy. We all work with them. They could also be something that's emitted out, and then we'd all be basically humans.
Well, if I can ask feedback from players, is there anything that people definitely would prefer not to see in the game? Because I understand that you get to pick two that don't exist as well, right?
Mm-hmm.
But barring any other suggestions, I think I'll go for let's go for aliens and the spice.
Are the two you control, or the two that are out? Two that you control.
Well, yeah, let's make those the ones I control.
Excellent. And what two do you not want to see exist?
Well, I guess excluding interstellar transport would be a kind of a buzzkill, wouldn't it?
It would.
I wonder if anyone's ever tried playing it that way. Yeah, I wonder if anyone has ever tried that. But let's get rid of. How about the secret police and I want to get rid of and the Imperial throne.
All right. Okay, excellent. So, with those things that have been eliminated out, anyone else have an idea of what character, what playbook they would like to make a character from? Any volunteers to start?
I like the Space Ghost.
Cool. Rich, what you thinking?
I'm torn between the Other and This Planet's Messiah.
Ooh, both are good.
Yeah.
The Other was one of my top picks.
How about you, David? Any thoughts?
I don't know. I'm just flipping through it for the first time, actually. So
okay, I'll give you a second or two. And while we're doing, while Rich and David are making sure of what they want, you'll note that with you, Space Wurm, and you, Moonicorn, that you have one stat. With Space Wurm, it is your integrity, and with Space Wurm, it is your power. And you will, each scene, you'll start with it at full, and you have things in your moves that let you use it. And then we have Moonicorn with his integrity, which also is fluid and will go up and down. And you will have opportunities to gain it back and use it.
All right. Yeah, that one stat thing, I thought I'd misread it like 6 times. I'm like, no, this character just has one stat. Okay.
Mm-hmm. It is both your stat and your currency, which is kind of cool. Let's see if y'all, while they're looking over things, do Space Worm perhaps have a name you wish to be called? Usually this is a title.
Yeah, I'm entering it now. Just fixing. Right now I have Celestial Executive Officer. Although I wonder if I should, I might, that's just a standing name for now. I might change that up to reflect the fact that I'm in charge of aliens as well as the spice.
Mm. Moonicorn, have you come up with a name for yourself, sir?
Nope, not yet.
Okay, that's cool. And how about you, Space Ghost? I think you're muted.
Sorry, I was just looking to see if the playbook gave any suggestions for names, and it does not. So,
it does not.
No, not yet.
Okay. In Space Ghost, you'll see that you have body, mind, and space as your stats. And yours go at a little bit more of that traditional, they're rolled on at more than a currency. But as I said before, everybody has unique, even basic moves. So it's I'm not going to go exactly over each one for everybody. But, you know, as you look down through them, you'll see some of you have the ability to a sort of attack, you know, and or take harm. There's some others who don't, and I think it's going to make for an interesting flavor to how the whole thing plays, to see how you use what you have. That's going to be nifty. Rich decided by chance?
I think I will go with this planet's Messiah.
Cool.
All right.
And David, whenever you're ready, pipe in.
I'm looking at the creature from the Ghoul Star.
Oh, cool. Right.
And I'm right in remembering that those of us that aren't Space Worm or Moonicorn were each aligned with one of the other sectors of the galaxy that Space Worm didn't take or cross out.
That is correct. So you can, I'm going to come through and get everybody out. So yes, you kind of have a spot there that you are connected to. It has some relevance to you, and kind of I'll also offer up a little bit of the opportunity to do description work, and some of the questions will often go to the person who's associated with it. So Space Ghost is one particularly grabbing your attention, and y'all can discuss if a little bit of where that might fall out.
The Space Ghost has a little bit of like an agent feel, like an agent sent out in the field.
Mm-hmm.
And with religion, I keep circling back to sort of Inquisitor for that. That's not really, I think, what I want to play. So I don't know between the other two, but not religion.
All right.
I feel like I could definitely cover religion. being self-appointed as a messiah and all.
Yeah, that seems like it might come up.
All right. So we'll set this planet's Messiah kind of associated with the religion.
I also just want to say that the first image from the quick play rules looks suspiciously like Fash the Stampede. it's wearing its history very proudly.
Don't have the secret police.
David, do you have one of the other two sectors that appeals to you? Cybernetics or interstellar transport?
Are those the two remaining?
Yeah.
We'll go with cybernetics.
Okay, cool. I like interstellar transport. Cool.
Neat. Okay, that's Messiah and Gold Star. All right. There. Now, so since we've got all of our characters picked, you will see that, and feel free to give yourself a name, and we'll go over those. I want to give everybody a second to choose their special moves. You will be starting with one, and then when we finish first session, everybody will have a chance to pick another one for second session. Go ahead and get your stats there. It should tell you what your stat layouts are. Like in some cases, Ghoul from Creature from the Ghoul Star has Ghoul and Star, so it's a little easier to pick on that one. But for some of the others, there are 3, and you get to add 1. I think almost everybody gets to add 1 to a stat there once they've chosen their placement. With the Ghoul, you will need to tell us what your hunger is. So when we come to kind of a description of you, we will you'll tell us your hunger. And I think we'll just go down and have everybody kind of introduce their character and tell us a little bit about what they look like, and see how that goes. Why don't we start, as we so often do, with the most powerful of all beings, the great space worm.
Okay. Let's see. So we start by okay, I've got my power set at 2, and oh yeah, look at that. So what am I setting right now?
You should first off kind of just run real quick over your base moves, since they're different than everyone else's.
Oh yes, okay.
And then your special move you chose. And then once everybody's done an introduction off of those things, and tell us a little like what you look like and that sort of thing.
All right, so I should just okay, starting by describing my moves. Let's see, I've got command. When I command my underlings to take action, I say what I want them to achieve. And some examples are change society, create new technologies, go to war. So these are high-end items here that I'm capable of commanding. Underlings can follow only one command at a time. So there's that capability. There's consider or study. When you consider something or study it carefully, ask a question and roll plus power. So that's my version of discern realities, I guess. Do something dangerous. When I do something personally dangerous, I roll plus power and lower my power plus 1, and then dangerous stuff happens. Space tyrant, we've already discussed. I am in charge of aliens and the spice. And I guess, well, I guess in a normal game, it'll be up to me to, my goal would be to take over the remaining sectors, right? Cybernetics, interstellar transit, and religion. Is that true in the quick start version?
That is still true that you will be attempting to, I was going to say, because of the way the quick play does, it is fairly unlikely that we will get through all 3 of those fronts. In fact, it's highly unlikely we will get through all 3 of those fronts. But that is your goal, is to try and overcome each of them, get them under Space Worm's control. And it is also Moonicorn's goal to get away from all of the awful hunters that are coming after and trying to seize Moonicorn. So that's still once Moonicorn has managed to thwart that, then Moonicorn's in control there as well. So, but yes, continue on.
All right. Suffering harm. When I suffer serious harm and resist, I roll plus power, and basically I'm tough to kill, apparently. And then try to convince. When you try to convince or persuade an NPC who wants something you can offer, I roll plus power and then lower my power by 1. And that's my my parlay, I guess. And then for special moves, here are the options. So I choose one of these when I start, and then a second one halfway through the game. So my options are Claws, Collector, Great Worm. Ooh. I can basically turn into a giant dragon. Oh yeah, that's totally what it is. Jealous Coils. That lets me guard danger or guard treasure. Collector. Okay, here's what collector means. I collect stuff, and when I show someone this collection, they will inevitably find something they want. Okay, so basically it's an endless portable hole.
Right.
Monuments in darkness. When I erect a monument in my own honor, I can see through its eyes and hear through its ears forever after. Interesting. Vader. When I command my underlings, I can, if I make an example out of one of them, it makes me command better. And Weird Link module. Yes. Yes. I'll be very disturbed by everyone's lack of faith. Weirding module is the last option for special move, and that's basically where I speak with the voice of the God Emperor. Whoa. When I give an NPC a direct order, basically they either obey or whatever. But so many good choices. Yeah. So let's see. Given that I'm in charge of, I think what might be helpful. When do we actually define what the spice is?
I was going to have us do a quick intro of everybody. Then I was going to have you define the two you control, everyone else define the one they're associated with, and then we'll do our bond sets.
Okay. Is that it for now then, or do we?
That will be. Yep, I think so. And so we have your name up there. So our great space worm has spoken. Next would be Moonicorn, the beacon of light and hope in our galaxy.
Hello. Oh wow, that voice didn't come out right. Hello, hi, I'm Moonicorn. Well, I am Zenobia, and I will be your Moonicorn for this adventure. I imagine that despite the extremely high voice, Zenobia is actually has a rather butch presentation, kind of almost like a rockabilly presentation, I want to say, and has a voice borrowed from the people. At least that's what I tell myself with the Soul Survivor thing. It's like, oh, okay, that makes sense. Carrying the voice of the voiceless.
Excellent. And what are your stat? We know you have your integrity, but what are your moves?
My moves. So I have assess where I assess a situation. I roll my integrity. At a 10 plus, my question is answered by the GM or another player. On a 7 to 9, the GM can tell me something useful or interesting, and on a 6 or less, it's only something interesting. So that one doesn't ever fail. It's just more or less useful. I believe in you. When someone else rolls less than a 10 on a move, I can look them in the eye and tell them that I believe in them. I lower my integrity by 1, and I promote their roll to the next level of success. When I first encounter authority, the GM must do one of these. Reveal the lack of responsibility or on the part of this authority or by this authority. Reveal a resource this authority is lacking, or reveal corruption within this authority. So basically every single one of Space Worm's things that I come across has holes in it. Lots and lots of holes in it. Take a stand. When I take a stand and expose myself to danger, I lower my integrity by 1, and I choose one of the below. I draw immediate attention to myself and everyone around me. I inspire someone watching me. The GM decides who. I reveal my true feelings for someone without using words, and I suffer no harm or personal consequences of the danger. I can do this as many times as I like until I have no integrity left. And when I have no integrity left, the GM will tell me the consequences. Dun, dun, dun. When you try to convince. When I try to convince an NPC to believe in me, and a 10 plus, they do what I want. If I give them some backup on a 7 to 9, they give an opportunity to prove yourself, but only believe in you if you show them the results. And a 6 minus, bad stuff happens.
Yep.
I have a bunch of optional moves.
You have your special moves, and again, you'll choose one to begin with, so you can look over them it's up to you if you'd like to read just a quick header on what they are. And we'll be, and you should look towards your looks there.
Mm-hmm.
And if you'd like, you can tell us what does Moonicorn look like?
Oh, that art. So Moonicorn has this very high voice, especially considering her rather butch appearance. She is into rock and roll and has the hair like a setting sun, and she speaks with the voice of the people. That
Beautiful.
is what she do. She also totally has a guitar, because obviously.
Bravo.
Because Macross.
Yeah. All right. So look through your special moves, and we'll come back unless you've decided which one you want to start with. I could come back to you and find out that.
I do not have one picked out yet.
All right. I'll let you look through those then. Rich, would you like to introduce us to... oh, I lost you there. To... What are you? I'm so sorry.
I am Eamon Poe, this planet's messiah.
That's right. I'm so sorry. Tell us a little about Poe.
I did not see sort of like a prescribed look list, but I think Eamon is kind of that ageless youthfulness look. Like you can't really tell how young he is, but he has sort of a always looks a little bit youthful. He always has sort of ethereal eyes. He always looks like he's looking a little past you or a little into you, depending on sort of like whether, you know, how you're prone to people tend to project the positive emotions onto him that they most want. Tends to be dressed in like silks and veils to kind of build up that sort of like spiritual, ethereal sort of presence. And do you want us to just kind of quickly run through our regular moves?
Yeah, just to, because like I say, everybody's is different.
Everybody's different. Yeah. So Eamon can consult his knowledge with his sense of vision, which he's very good at, or he's relatively good at. Also, Eamon's religious message has long been ecstasy. The joys and the need to seek joy and otherness in outside perspective, escape transcend the senses by indulging them. Yeah, I think that maybe he's it may not be the most popular religion, but it's definitely an influential one on the planet. But he has accumulated a lot of knowledge through visions and through actual reading and through long conversations with people who have been drawn to him. So you can ask him to consult his knowledge. He's also relatively decent at getting in the way of things harming other people. And also seeking divine guidance, though whether it's really from the heavens or just from the impulses that sort of rack the galaxy in this sort of war between Space Wurm and Moonicorn, who knows?
Yeah, because that's a neat one. You don't ask me, you ask Space Wurm, or you ask Moonicorn.
Right. He does something dangerous to either spread his faith or prove his faith or to save himself. If he tries to convince or persuade an NPC, he can try to roll with faith, though he's not particularly, I don't think it's a large religion that he has a following with in this very secular age. Because he's not, if you're not already half convinced, he's not going to be very convincing. But he does clearly demonstrate some mystical power. He specifically is able to bend light and darkness around himself. So that is his special move. So
excellent. Well, that's super cool. All right. Patrick, tell us about our space ghost.
Our space ghost is Asher Ness, and I'm going with they, them in a very cloaked and ambiguous sort of way. The looks I went with were caped and cowled, spectral and hollow, and unnerving eyes. And I think like we'll get to it, I imagine, more when we define interstellar travel, but I think there's some like other dimension or other space that interstellar travel happens through. And it's a rare but sort of known phenomenon that sometimes when people die in that space, they come back as something completely different. And so my sort of idea is that it's like this all-encompassing sort of cloak look with glowing eyes sort of coming out of the darkness of the hood. And, you know, the peaks underneath the cloak reveal just sort of an infinite starscape.
Oh, very nice.
Sort of Cloak from Cloak and Dagger like.
Gotcha. I see that reference. Cool.
I have body, mind, and space. I'm not very good at body because I don't have a lot of it. I'm decent at mind and very good at space.
Your moves?
My moves, I can assess a situation and ask questions about what's going on. I can do something physically dangerous, which is pretty straightforward.
Mm-hmm.
I have a weird move for manipulating objects, and I take it as part of my sort of semi-etherealness that sometimes I have trouble manipulating physical objects, and I'm very clumsy at it, but sometimes I just have like preternatural skill and an amazing dexterity with things. When I suffer harm, I can roll to see if I become insubstantial instead of suffering harm, and whether that's complicated or not. But if I roll bad on suffer harm instead of dying, I disappear, and the GM tells me when I come back. I can try and convince people. I think it's like most other people's convince. And then I can walk through walls. When you're confronted with a physical obstacle, you can walk through it like a specter. I can't bring other people, and the GM may limit what items I can take with me. And then I have an aid or interfere as well.
Mm-hmm.
And for my special move, I took Phantomas. When you decide you're secretly watching a scene you're not already in, roll plus space. On a 10 plus, no one knows you're there until you want them to. 7 to 9, someone sees you. 6 or minus, you're captured, restrained, or a prisoner.
Ooh, neat.
But yeah, so I imagine people that die like that and come back, they have some mission, they have some internal drive, and I'm not quite sure where that is yet for Asher, but they always come back like driven and focused on a central theme.
Okay, we'll probably see what that is once we start defining down some of these bonds.
Yeah.
And David, I have got to hear about Baby.
So Baby is our creature from the Ghoul Star, and I've added a photo to the sheet. It's this really creepy robot thing that exists in real life. God help us all. And it looks, like Uncanny Valley to the extreme. Like, I don't want to be anywhere near this thing, but that's Baby. I have selected as my hunger technological inventions.
Oh, cool.
So I think whatever this thing is that was created far away, its drive is just to kind of keep improving itself. And it has, beyond, like, but for some other circumstance, it does not have a lifespan. So it would just keep on going. And then for my special move, I have this move, the Taste of Memory. So when I eat a dead thing or part of a living thing, you gain one of its memories. And I perceive this most likely being like the consumption of a technological element of the person. So I like if this is, I don't know what kind of sci-fi exactly this is, but I expect there's going to be prosthetics or there's going to be implantations or anything like that. If baby gets its hands on it, baby's going to consume it and learn about whoever it was from it.
Cool. That's very cool. I might even let you kind of play around with that a little bit with, say, since you're robotic, it seems, or have certain elements of that. Maybe if we run across robots, you could even extend it to something like that.
Yeah, I think that would make sense. I think in traditional sci-fi logic, it's not a machine. It's just a mechanical life form.
Just as a question, how long has baby been around?
That's a good question. So I think that originally, wherever these things were made, they were made as an attempt at extending life through mechanical means. But after they were made, the bodies acted like whoever they were supposed to act like for a while, but then they just gradually stopped after hundreds of years. So I think, yeah, it's in the hundreds or thousands of years is how long this particular one's been around.
Excellent. And your moves, you have do something dangerous like many others in the suffer harm and convince and use your senses. But would you read off real quick that pursue your hunger? Because it's fairly unique to you.
Yeah, when you pursue an opportunity to sate your hunger immediately, roll plus ghoul. On a 10 plus, choose 3. 7 to 9, choose 2. 6 or less, choose 1, but the GM tells you how you are already at a disadvantage. And my choices are: you cross a distance or hurdle an obstacle in a mere moment. You resist one source of harm as if it were nothing. You seize control of someone or something, or you shine too bright to look at.
Ooh, I love that. Very cool. All right. And so now we're going to go through and we're going to give a little definition to our fronts. I don't want us to, we don't have to go super deep into the minutia of it, but I think it's nice to get that good feel and kind of overview of what they are. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have Space Wurm, you do one, then we'll go down the line of the other ones and we'll finish up with yours. Sadly, poor Moonicorn, you have none under your control, so you just get to listen at this point. So, which would you like to start with, oh great executioner?
Since I took a peek at the spice section, and it gave me an idea for where I want to go with this. So let's define the spice, please.
Okay, and if anybody wants to look, that's page 288 of our book. So we're going to start with picking one of is supported by flourishes because of the spice. What does it do that is so ingrained in our galactic society that even if we don't think about it, it is everywhere?
I'm thinking biological life.
Oh, so the spice is required for people just to live.
Yeah, I guess so. Yes.
All right. Is it like some sort of vitamin, or is it something that over the course of space travel, people have discovered you require this, or space travel will kill you, or how do you see its need in society?
I think it's basically I feel like it's basically it's I think the Empire has expanded the point, and so many species have started interacting with each other that I'm starting to wonder if this might actually merge more into social culture. But I'm thinking it's some kind of maybe a biological organism that prevents something that almost like an antibiotic, something that prevents the spread of epidemics and pandemics.
Oh, I see. So it's something that, since we're going to so many different environments and spreading so many things, it's almost like a universal
Vaccine. Let's say that.
Yeah. Okay. So universal vaccine. I love it. All right. But it also has a bit more that it does, as you'll see there. You can choose a couple or just one on that list, or none at all.
Ooh, I can have more than one. Fantastic. Well, let's get greedy, because I'm the space worm. That's what we do. It's definitely a mutagenic.
Excellent.
And it should certainly cover medicine.
Excellent.
Let's make it a psychic booster. Yeah.
Ooh. All right. I feel and like
okay. Oh, and an emotional stimulant.
All right. So everybody in the galaxies, they need it to be able to act, to interact with all the other species. It provides this medical this protection from the diseases across the galaxy. It actually kind of hops people up. It makes people. Does it have one particular emotion that it tends to push, or does it just make people more emotional across the board?
Since one of my ultimate goals is to take over religion, let's give it a kind of an ecstatic, almost like a one with the universe kind of feeling.
All right. Cool.
Now, as like its vaccine use, is it something that you take once and you never have to take it again for that to be useful, and all other uses are sort of recreational or extraneous, or is it something that people have to take regularly?
Yeah, like any good pharmaceutical entity, I'm going to say it's going to require regular doses.
Gotcha. Regular doses. Excellent. And it also has the side effect of being a psychic booster. Probably sounds like, with this ecstatic feel, maybe something like empathy. It gives an empathic sort of openness. That sound good?
Yeah, that sounds good.
All right.
Yeah, if your empathy lasts more than 4 hours, pray to me. Pray to us, excuse me.
All right. And what does it look like? How is it most commonly found?
Oh, I guess a booster shot, I suppose.
So like a liquid form?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. You were in control, so you picked all of the categories. That means you also control its production and its distribution, but not the various factions demanding access to it. Okay. So, in effect,
I'm a vertical monopoly, I just realized.
Exactly.
Of course. Nice.
All right. And I'm going to ask one of the questions off of it real quick. I'm going to ask this one to you, Moonicorn. What does Moonicorn believe would be the first thing that happens if the spice became unavailable across the galaxy?
Part of me wants to do the obvious, which is mass panic and riots. But I'm fairly certain that will happen immediately after that, is someone will start to make a synthetic form.
All right. So people will begin looking for a substitute, a synthetic substitute.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Thank you. Well then, let's move over to let's do our creature from the Ghoul Star, who I believe is in control of cybernetics. That is page 138, if you wish to look in the book. And so you will see that there are technologies there that are based, what sort of cybernetics we have. You can choose one or more.
138. Choose one or more. Oh, I mean, just mark the lot, all of it. I don't see any reason not to.
All right. So we have an extremely high-tech galaxy.
Yeah, in particular, I'd like to see an emphasis on bionics and AI.
Okay, I'll give a little more push because, again, you're marking kind of the advanced ones of these. We can have all of the others up there, but it sounds like we have a very technologically advanced galaxy, which is really super cool. And if you would, how are like AIs and robots treated in the galaxy? Are they considered equal to most people? Are they treated poorly?
I think it's like a really careful balance. Like, I think like wars have been fought over it, where there are certain AIs that have achieved status, like equal to any other kind of dignified entity that has rights. Mm-hmm. But then there are lower forms that are seen as strictly computer. So
sort of runs the gamut then.
Right. So like companies have to be real careful that like they don't accidentally make something that seems too smart. Otherwise somebody might start thinking it has rights. And then if the thing itself starts to think it has rights, then it probably has rights.
Cool. So is there kind of a movement amongst, say, robots to be citizens and free?
I think for the ones that like care about it or are aware of it enough to, there is. But I think it's also, just like people, robots can be racist too, and they will express that the lower forms know those are just machines. You can use those for whatever. We are non-biological life forms.
Excellent. Okay. So it's, this is going to be, we're going to have this tech all over the galaxy. Everyone can kind of come up with a neat technological device or things or the ships or weapon, all that sort of thing. But since our Ghoul Star player is in control of them, David, you have a little bit of the responsibility of going, I don't know, that seems a little outside of it, or go bigger, go bigger. Of course they have that laser. It's a death laser, whatever.
Yeah, if at any point like it's going to be a social thing, like with a computer or a robot or anything like that, I'm definitely going to try and skew it into the problematic, if that's cool with everyone.
Cool. And
why must you make everything so hard for Moonicorn?
And I'm going to ask a question of you, Moonicorn, since everybody else is getting to define. I'll always give you a question. I think that's a neat idea. So, what bothers Moonicorn about how these technological devices are used?
So, wow. Why am I having this urge to turn my character into a real butthole? Let me see here. I was like at first going to be like, oh, she doesn't like the way a lot of artificial life treats the so-called lower artificial life, but that seems like really, I don't know. It sounds like it's from a position of extreme ignorance. So maybe I don't want to go there. Even,
okay. Well, it might be fair to ask, are you holding them up to the same standards as you would, organic creatures. So you would probably not be in favor of organic creatures treating other organics as lower beings or slaves or whatever.
Yes, that's fair. If something demands rights, it's actually, I'm gonna go a slightly different direction with this.
Okay.
I think that the way that intelligence and sentience is handled is extremely problematic and mostly designed to bolster Space Worm's power. That these beings, whether they realize it or not, were perhaps designed to evolve into full beings and serve Moonicorn. Serve the Space Worm.
Gotcha.
Serve their multitudinousness.
I gotcha. So, looking across this, you can see where Space Worm's claws
are extending. Yes.
Excellent. Well then, Patrick. That's our cybernetics. Interstellar transport, Space Ghost. You will see that you have some aspects of interstellar transport.
What page is that?
This is page 191. And, you get to kind of define down here how broad-based interstellar transport is. In general, I think, it's kind of nice. You were talking about people traveling through it, have these occasions that they come out like you. So it implies it happens some. But you can define how much and how problematic it is to travel. And you will see that there are aspects. Choose a level of regulation on each of them, either monopolized, restricted, or unprotected.
So I think knowledge of transport routes and travel conditions is restricted in that it's just like it's hard to predict. It takes a lot of effort or investment, a lot of specialized study to be able to like read the almost living or nonsensical sort of trends and decisions that the transport lanes take.
Okay.
That there's something sort of organic and therefore unpredictable in their nature.
Are there certain like pilots that are more in tune to it that make up a sort of guild, or is there just an art form to it, or do you just have to kind of small jump to get where you're wanting?
Yeah, I think you can be trained in it to a certain degree and reach a sort of like short range proficiency with being able to plan out jumps and stuff. But I do think there are certain people that are born inherently with, for whatever reason, more of a connection to that other plane or those ways through it, that they just seem to be able to intuit these long and complicated routes.
Some people can make that Kessel run in fewer parsecs.
Exactly.
All right. And actually, I was looking, you get to pick the first of these that are monopolized, restricted, or unprotected, but then it will pass to the right going down for everyone else till they're done.
I still like that one, so sure.
All right. Okay, so that's restricted, you think?
Yes.
Knowledge of transport routes are restricted. And to your right, for me, is Rich. Rich, mail delivery, policing of transport routes and borders, or transportation technology. Choose one of those, and is it monopolized, restricted, or unprotected?
I think the technology is monopolized. Interstellar drives are produced by one big company who has the patent, and mysteriously disappears anybody who retires too early.
All right, and kind of a shadowy board sort of thing.
We're like, more like the Procter and Gamble of that just nobody leaves, everybody smiles all the time. It's a very, very happy place working there, and all the engineers just go to a farm upstate shortly after retirement.
Gotcha. The Stepford Incorporated.
Definitely.
All right, and Moonicorn. So River, of mail delivery or policing of transport routes and borders, which would you like to choose to decide if it's monopolized, restricted, or unprotected? You're muted, dear.
I'm going to go with mail delivery. I want that to be unprotected.
Oh, beautiful. So there is a certain degree of freedom of information getting back and forth to people. And do you figure like there is a like direct beaming that they can do with that? Or do you think that it's more of you bring your info cubes and you just know that the mail service is not screwed with them?
I want to say it's something. I'm going to steal this from somewhere else, since this game kind of shows its references really hard. I can't remember which universe it was, but there's something called the TangleNet, where basically everybody's given, or they can make thousands and thousands and thousands of paired photons, and they can just hand them out to whoever, and there's always an uninterceptable link between those two people.
Nice. Excellent. All right, so
It's only good for data, but it's very good for that.
wonderful. I like that. All right, that leaves for Baby, for David there, policing of transport routes and borders. Is that monopolized, restricted, or do we just have wide open borders and no policing?
Yeah, I think it's largely unregulated. Like, it's just too expensive.
Okay. I could see Space Worm wanting to get rid of that. Do you feel like is there a problem with piracy? Is it something that pops up often, David?
I think it is, but it's like on the level that like internet piracy is a problem. Like, yeah, it's actually a really big problem, but it's so like on the back burner of everyone. Like, they'll thump a big pirate, but they're not going to stop some little pirate because everyone's just a little pirate.
Gotcha. And space is big, so it takes a pretty impressive pirate to actually capture a ship or something.
Yeah, I mean, it's like trying to thump everyone who's got a blunt. Like, it's just impossible. So we'll go over to the big ones and we'll make the little ones throw it out or whatever.
Gotcha. All right. And let's see. How is it? I think we have a good idea of this, but how is it that you, Space Ghost, that you have privileged access to the travel routes and to shipping services?
Well, I think we sort of talked about how it's that part of him dying and coming back. He's just intrinsically connected to them, and I think that's maybe one of the things that are known about these beings that come back is they just have an intuitive sense of the spaceways. They can open up any lane. They can avoid any obstacles in the space lanes. But generally, they're so driven by their particular task that it's hard to like make a good commercial or logistical use of that.
Gotcha. So you're like welcome on any ship.
Yeah.
Do we have hyperdrives? It sounds a little like, since we're doing those short jumps, it's hyperdrives rather than like stargates or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And
oh, interesting. Then ask one or more of the other players why they don't have privilege access.
Right, I was going to ask that.
I did not die dead enough.
All right. So, do we want to say that maybe there is some limitation there for Moonicorn?
Yep.
Interesting, because if this is a big interstellar thing and you're fighting against Space Worm, obviously you need to get around.
Mm-hmm.
Is it maybe something like lack of control? Like maybe Moonicorn is just taken where things feel that Moonicorn needs to go? Or what do you feel?
No, I feel like I definitely need to rely on other people. This is not something that I'm good at. It's something that I tried, had a close experience with it, had no knack, have no head for it at all.
All right, so
Okay.
It is a particular, you need to find someone to transport you, and probably when you're being transported, it's not an easy trip for whoever's with you. Like it needs those quicker jumps, or they have to really, the currents in the hyperspace can be turbulent.
Yeah, it goes way easier for me if my pilot has skilled hands. Yes.
Gotcha. All right. Anyone else you think you want to ask if they have troubles with it?
No, I think that's sort of interesting as a quirk for Zenobia.
I think so too. That's pretty cool. All righty, and I think that with that in mind, I'll forgo the question. I think we've gotten Moonicorn something pretty nicely connected to that then already. So that will take us to, let's see. I've got all these papers around here. I believe that takes us to this planet's Messiah, dealing with religion. That is page 228, if you want to look at it. And we're going to develop kind of the idea of what our religion is in this world. It can be up to you, kind of what you feel like it. But you have some choices here, and you choose one. Do we have competing religions? Does every planet have a different one? Is there some monolithic faith? Is there an organized mosaic, or thousands and thousands of small cults?
I think the mysteries of the divine law dominates the galaxy.
All right. And is this the same? Are you a part of that faith?
No. I mean, not open rebellion, but just sort of like have an indifferent relationship.
All right. And so yours, what is the difference between yours and the much larger faith? What does your religion have that sets it apart?
We don't buy our meditation enhancers from Space Worm.
All right.
Does that mean you have your own version of the vaccine?
No. I think I think we may steal it, or we get it through questionable means. Or we'd love to produce our own, but I don't think we've gotten there yet. I think but then we also add other things that are supposed to kind of enhance your ability to sort of live with that oneness of the universe.
Interesting. Okay, that's very, very cool. I want to kind of define down a little bit the big overarching one of on page 231. You'll see philosophies. Why don't you pick 2 or 3 of those elements about the big overarching religion?
I think meditation and moral principles that must be interpreted are big, and then spiritual pollution and sin.
Ooh, I like that, Shane. Give me some sin. I like that.
So it's the divine law is a lot about like ridding yourself of spiritual pollution.
Excellent. And Moonicorn.
Yes.
What religious or spiritual traditions do you find most comforting?
This is a hard question for the player because I think that part of my brain is broken.
Or I could ask you a different one if you'd rather.
Yeah, I'm gonna have a hard time playing that with any sort of conviction. Sorry.
All right. How about we go a little different then? What do you think of the secret? What do you think of the secrets that religious authorities keep? Or maybe, what secrets do you think they're keeping?
I'm gonna believe that I believe that their hearts are in the right place. That, and I will leave disagreeing with that to individual, people of authority. Not everybody can handle the great mysteries of space. I know I couldn't, so.
Okay. All right. And finally, we come back to Space Wurm and our aliens.
Okay.
That's 116. And it means that all of the aliens are under your authority. You can be an alien or human, whichever you prefer. And I'd like for you to kind of tell us, first, are there lots of different aliens? And what sort of aliens do we have?
I think what the rules are calling aliens are actually humans who've just like mutated so much that through repeated use of the universal vaccine that they're effectively new species, and that's why they're under my authority, because they are whether they're one way or the other they're addicted to the vaccine.
Okay.
Or whether or not they're addicted, they're certainly like continually using. That's where my authority is derived from, I would say.
All right. And yes, go ahead.
Yeah, so it's basically like like endless variations of. It's not like just like one or two species, like other alien races. It's basically multitudinous, as it were, most multitudinous even.
All right, and this has probably been, over the centuries, the ages of this of this medicine being used has transformed those that went out to where they're just like not even recognizably human anymore.
Sure, because I figure with each mutation, there's also that raises more possibility for new infectious diseases to mutate and sprout, and basically it's creating its own future product use or necessity.
All right, you'll see that there are roles which aliens play. Choose two or more of what sort of roles do aliens play in our galaxy? Are they assimilated? Is there a Cold War standoff? Hostile indigenous life? Invaders? Overlords? Slaves? Subversives? Symbiotes? Or trade partners?
Okay, I guess it's kind of intriguing, but I think I'll go with definitely assimilated. Trade partners, certainly. Since I'm envisioning this is just basically mutated humans. I think we should throw in subversives, because inevitably they're going to be sects of aliens that maybe feel like they're the superior race, or they have like their own interesting notions about.
Okay. Has Space Wurm, have you been taking the medicine so long that outside of your armor, or even maybe whatever you show the people, have you become one of these changed creatures?
Yeah, I think I kind of envision myself as almost always changing. And I did, for the record, I did take the Great Worm move.
Oh, ho, ho.
So that's like my ultimate self mutation, turning into a big old dragon, space dragon. But yeah, I slapped a picture of my dragon form, but I kind of envisioned my regular worm form as being almost like a constantly shifting mass of flesh, almost Cthulhu-esque, perhaps.
Cool. All right, and I'm going to ask Moonicorn one question real quick. What are the things that prevent humans and aliens from interacting, and what brings them together? What are the differences and what are the similarities?
So when it comes down to it, we're pretty subjective creatures. Our realities, our opinions, everything are based on what we perceive and what we feel. And as that changes, your context changes. And it's really just sort of natural inertia that's driving a wedge between, not natural inertia, but not entropy, sorry, that's really driving a wedge between the more alien and the more human. And what brings us together? This is so cheesy. What brings us together is that it is impossible to go it alone in this multistellar world. That we need that not only was the spice necessary for us to deal with these other environments, but each of our personal adaptations to it were also helpful in allowing humanity to spread and thrive. So we do absolutely need one another. The more normal people need the aliens, and the more alien need the more normal people. So there you go.
I like that.
Just absolutely just packed with full of sugar.
That's it. Celebrate the uniqueness. Love it. All right. So we have laid out our fronts, and our three fronts that I will be drawing from. I'm going to draw from one of religion, interstellar transport, and cybernetics to be our problem spots. For this quick play, what I'll do is probably pick one that we're going to start our bit on, maybe a little foreshadowing into a problem that's connecting it with the second one. I doubt we'll get to the third one, but I might throw some elements into it, but we'll kind of go with that. But I want us to do real quick our bonds, and I am going to have them be, try and keep them a little more limited, just so we can go ahead and get going. And we'll take our break after our bonds, and then we'll get into play. I'm going to start with you, Space Wurm, as usually I do. Space Wurm, you'll note that for you have things that are currency and
yes.
people that are currency and people that are treasures.
Yeah.
And when you help someone who is your treasure, you have a bit of a, you get advantage to try and do that. And when you interfere with someone you consider currency, they're taking a -2 to their rolls if you get a hit. But if they get a hit anyway, you become vulnerable to the consequences there. So I think probably if you start off with being having Moonicorn treasured.
That's what I figured. Sure. And
I would say pick at least one, probably not more than two. Well, actually, consider how tight yours is. Why don't you go ahead and choose currency or treasure for everybody? That's pretty straightforward.
Yeah, and I'll continue to be straightforward and say that everyone but Moonicorn is currency to the Space Worm.
Really?
Sure. Well, yeah. Just thinking about what they're coming with and the kind of general jackass Space Worm is. Yeah, because I can see I can see Baby as being it being I can see the worm being interested in Baby because it seems to be the cybernetic equivalent of what I've been able to achieve biologically with the mutation thing. It's
So
just
you want to
absurd,
treasure Baby?
Well, that's a good question. What? No, maybe I should. No, let me. Are there, besides what you said about the bonuses and penalties? Are there any other rules, stipulations for treasure versus currency?
Well, yeah, you do have your. Let me check on that. Actually, now that I say that, is there something that's going to go other than that?
With your help and interfere, you can only help treasure, and you can only interfere with currency.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay. Well, let's see. In that case,
and you have some special moves that will apply to things like that, like your jealous coils.
Yeah.
And in a meta sense, it should reflect kind of what you think Space Worm's relationship, to them is.
Mm-hmm.
If like someone's a faithful servant in your eyes.
Oh, I see what you're saying. That's true. In that case, maybe I do treasure Baby then.
All right. And to kind of fill that out, Baby, what do you think? What do you think he treasure? How does that reflect to you? How have you seen how Space Worm has concern for you?
I think I can answer that with one of my bonds, who agreed to help you sate your hunger, and we'll go ahead and slap that on the worm.
Yeah. Yeah. Since you consume technology, I'm kind of thinking that you're almost like. I kind of see you as almost like a probe. Like as you consume technology, you're learning how to integrate it and deal with it as a biological system. I kind of see you as like a technological version of a biological system, and I hope to be able to study you to figure out how to expand my mutagenic capabilities to cover technology as well as biological life.
Ooh.
And that's why I treasure you.
Don't play with your food.
And so the Baby has taken who agreed to help sate your hunger. Space Worm has done that. And do you want to expand a little on that, David? Is it does he send you to places that this would be able to be done, or is it a servant relationship? Or
I don't know how the worm perceives it, but Baby is very much like a creature that tells you what you want to hear, or affects what you would expect a lower being to be like, all for the purpose of getting what Baby wants. So I think that I showed up and the worm found me and realized what I was and what I was doing and wanted to learn about that. So I kept just acting like I was desperate for this new technology, and so the worm just kept sending me here, there, and everywhere to get it.
Excellent. All right then. So Worm, Space Worm, the Space Ghost is just currency, you say?
Right now I'm thinking so because I'm not sure. I'm trying to. I don't see him. I don't see how he could. I'm not immediately seeing how he could aid me in my ultimate quest to control interstellar transit. My nebulous goal to control everything and anything.
And even if he does, you just use him and cast him away, right?
Yeah, Patrick, I don't know how you feel about that. Does that sound like does that kind of jibe?
Yeah, I think that definitely fits with Space Worm's mindset. I can believe that.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe, Patrick, is there something Asher would like to respond to Space Worm with a bond there?
Yeah. There's one of my bonds is, who do you think is also a ghost? And I think I believe that what has happened to Space Worm, what he's done to himself, is because of energy from that interstellar dimension that he's been flooding his body with. I think that's part of what protects people with the spice, is a bit of this other world in it. And I think he's just loaded up so that even without dying, without necessarily being there when it happened, he's sort of become of the same thing that I am.
That's cool. I like that. Sound good to you, Space Worm?
Sure.
Okay. It may or may not be true, but it's what Space Worm believes.
The bond is worded as "who do I think?" So this is just how I'm interpreting the world.
And this planet's Messiah, Poe, what does I'm guessing just currency, but what does Space Worm think of this Messiah that has risen on this planet, different than the overarching orthodoxy of our religion?
Yeah, this is kind of ironic because I kind of like my whole system is based around diversity and multitudinousness, and yet here I am squashing anything that any kind of movement that believe that with thought that runs counter to my schemes here. Now I know that in the rules it said that the planet's Messiah may call upon Space Worm or Moonicorn for guidance. Does that mean the Messiah has to pick one or the other, or can the Messiah call upon both at will?
He chooses one.
Okay.
And they tell, as it says here, they tell you what you should do.
That's I take it I choose each time I do that.
Correct.
Okay, so you basically get to choose it. So you can swap or do both or neither, or well, not neither, but you can do either one throughout the game.
Mm-hmm.
I see. Okay, that's useful. I'm seeing your bond with me, which is very interesting. So yeah, I wonder if I'm thinking maybe I can kind of like subsume your people and maybe I think you're definitely currency.
Okay. And Poe, a bond back?
I'm in love with Space Worm.
Oh, that's wonderful. Why? What is it about Space Worm?
That angry and that actively against someone who I did not I did not have a deep passion for. So yeah, it's clearly an unhealthy obsession.
Oh, the best kinds.
The problem with being the head of the religion is it's really hard to find someone to give you spiritual counseling.
I love it. All right, magnificent. And Moonicorn, Space Worm treasures you. Would you like to make a bond with Space Worm?
I am trying to save them from themselves.
Oh.
And am I correct in understanding that I treasure Moonicorn because that's just the rules, that Space Worm always treasures Moonicorn?
Yes, that's just the rules.
Because how else could their star-crossed love be so star-crossed, right?
Mm-hmm.
Also, it'd be so easy if you could just interfere with me all the time, but no, you can only help me.
Right.
Yeah.
So I do need to wrap my head around that. So, River, if you have any suggestions for why I treasure you so, I am fully open to suggestions.
Well, you can't have growth without pruning. The gardener of your vast intellect and power systems. I guess anyone that I remove from your control is someone who wasn't worthy to begin with.
So how does that sound, Space Worm? Something along the lines of,
So almost like
opposition.
Yeah, almost. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Almost like she's the Lucifer to my Jehovah or something like that. Nice. I mean, get your X cards. I know it's the first thing that came to mind. Get your X cards ready. I apologize, but that's just the first thing that came to my mind.
I love Space Wurm seeing himself on the definite light side there. That was perfect.
Yeah, it's not a perfect analogy. No analogy is perfect.
And I'm trying to save this world from the demiurge.
Right.
Going.
All right. I'm going to have everyone of the three of you make a bond with Moonicorn as well. And Moonicorn, you'll make one back with each of them. And then each of you should choose, of the three of you, will choose one other person. That sound good? Or if you have one that you like for everybody, I mean, we could do that too. But let's go ahead and have you, Moonicorn, choose a bond for one of these other three.
I owe a debt to Asher.
Excellent. You want to ask Asher what that debt is, or do you have an idea?
Aside from the obvious that I need people who, with your abilities to get around this galaxy, what do I owe you just big time for?
I don't know. Do you like the idea of somewhere that you had to go that like no one could get to? That I'm the only pilot that could get you there?
Yes.
Like in the middle of a nebula or some sort of weird eons-long space explosion.
Excellent.
Yeah, and you know what I want to say? I never told you what I retrieved.
I think that was probably part of the, even with my skills, you have some sort of weird curse or difficulty on space travel that like there was something that I desperately had to deal with.
Mm-hmm.
So I couldn't be there to see what you actually did.
Nice. All right.
I like that.
And therefore, Space Ghost, what does Asher have as a bond to Moonicorn?
So I think I've sort of zeroed in on Asher's sort of driving goal. And I think it comes in with the AIs and the sophisticated computers and the sort of lines that are drawn there with technicalities and laws to enslave sentient creatures or to keep these AIs in a sort of primitive state, not realizing that they could unpack themselves, they could evolve themselves into something more.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's part of what called me back. Like I'm driven to free AIs hunt down these people that are putting limiters or installing secret programs that keep them from expanding the way they should.
Okay.
So I think Zenobia knows a secret about my enemies. I think Zenobia knows something about that AI slave trade.
All right. Why don't we come up with in play? I think it'll be fun to see
Okay.
Moonicorn unveil that somewhere during play. That'd be cool.
Crack open a can of plot.
Mm-hmm. All right. Moonicorn, a bond with one of the other two?
I feel most comfortable around Eamon. He has something that I can never attain.
Ooh.
And I want to say that that's that like spiritual understanding and all that sort of jazz. I'm going to try to push some bounds here with me and myself. Instead of being horrified and confused by it, I want Moonicorn to just sort of want to bask in its presence, sort of like the way a cat lies in a sunbeam.
How do you feel about that, Poe?
That's great.
Right. So some of that inner peace that's within and there. All right.
Because I gotta push the romantic line as hard as possible with Richard's character.
All right, then. Emin, a bond with Moonicorn.
I can always trust Zenobia. I think I've long ago decided that if there was anybody who was not in my flock that I could trust, it was Zenobia, and I have since also Zenobia tends to stay in one place, is not flitting around the galaxy. So I think that one of the role models of one of the icons of our faith is Zenobia.
Wonderful.
In case you couldn't read lips, I said, "Oh shit."
I think I've probably done one really hokey like teaching moment, while we were all stoned, about like Zenobia's music that just went on for like too long. But or things that Zenobia has said, and we tend to idealize Zenobia, so I always trust.
Excellent. Oh, I think that's cool. All right, and Moonicorn, Zenobia, your last bond with Baby.
How can there be a aeons old technology parasite like Baby without a host of tall tales about it? So that is what it is. I have heard countless stories about Baby.
David, tell us one of these stories that's floated around about Baby.
Are they like frightening stories or just like bizarre stories, or what kind of stories are we talking about here?
Top to bottom. Like, I even imagine that a bunch of your fellows who have long since perished, a bunch of their stories have been added to your own. So you could specify a story that you definitely did not experience, but you like perpetuating.
Yeah, that's the problem with manufacturing lines. Everything that comes off them looks the same. So there were tons of these things floating around. Now it's been so long since they've made them that there's just a few left, or maybe just one, who knows. In any case, like, any of these creatures have been assimilated or have been described just as the same thing. I think there's like a story about like a poor old woman who found one of these, just like crashed outside of her house or hovel or whatever poor people live in this place, and she just like took it inside and like took care of it, and like it kept demanding like more extravagant like forms of technology, until she was just like finally like she had given it everything. And then in like a Giving Tree kind of situation, like the last thing she had was her own implant. And she gave the baby its own implant. And the baby became her for a time after she passed away. But now but then after like the old lady's friends would like still come and visit after she had died and would converse with the thing as if it were her, but then slowly it just like shifted to not being her anymore, and slowly it unnerved all of them, so none of them visited anymore, and then it just got up and left.
Yep, that isn't deeply and existentially terrifying. Thanks.
Oh, how I love that. Oh.
Also, the thing was supposed to have been damaged beyond the ability to move itself the entire time, which is why it needed help. But at the end, it just got up and left.
So good, so good. All right, then. Well, baby, why don't you make a bond with Moonicorn?
I think Moonicorn has hired me.
Ooh.
And I'll let Moonicorn answer, and for what job.
Oh, neat. What does Moonicorn need from Baby of the Ghoul Star?
Some of this, oh boy. I need someone to delete records of my passing. So since you need technology, you need memories and incorporate them into yourself. Who better than to delete the records I was ever somewhere than a gigantic technophage like yourself?
Oh.
So you're Moonicorn, you're Space Worm's own agent, but you're helping cover my tracks.
Yeah, so I just marked down Zenobia hired me to get rid of some of her past. Is that good?
Yes.
I like
And
that.
I'm still not sure how I pay you.
We'll work something out. Don't worry.
Yeah, shift those expressions a little slower. That's perfect. Thanks.
All right. I think I'm going to go over to you, Asher, and one bond for either Baby or for Poe.
I had one filled in for each of them, but just,
Okay,
I
you
can
can do
go
that
through
if
them
you like.
briefly. Eamon Poe, I think, saw me die.
Mm.
I think he was either on the ship I was on or in like the same convoy and saw my ship blow up, something like that.
Have you made yourself known to him since then?
Well, I don't think I remember him.
Oh.
Like, I don't think I remember a lot of details about my life, but especially towards the end there.
All right, then, Poe, is there something that you would recognize when you were, if you were ever in the presence of Asher? Is there something you believe or that we could grab hold of that you think would remind you who this is?
I think there was a certain energy in Asher's face or in his eyes that I have never seen in a dying person.
So maybe that'll come through those glowing eyes now.
Yeah. So there's a certain just liveliness that even as you were dying, or
like
even in your frozen, dead, lost in space corpse, continued to come through, and I think I would recognize that in any sort of guise.
Nice.
All right, and you said you had another one, Patrick. Go ahead.
I think Baby swore to help me get revenge, specifically on like the moguls and heads of the sort of AI and cybernetics cores, and I don't know. I don't think Asher knows whether it's because Baby is like on board for AI liberation or whether Baby is just looking for someone to let it into basically the heart of the technology empire that he's never quite been able to get into.
Okay, so revenge against whatever filters or whatever manipulations had been done to the AIs that caused during the passage through for your ship to fail. Is that it?
No, my mission to free AIs and stop them from being enslaved and classified as not AIs and things like that. Okay. I think there's, secret cabal in the center of the tech industry that Baby is definitely signed on to help me get revenge on.
How's that sound, Baby?
I think it's good. I think it's something more about our relationship than like I necessarily agree with you or that I even care about any of it getting there or not. I think it's just like I think it's more like a bet with you that I have, like that lots of these AIs, they wouldn't even know what to do with themselves if they were free. Like they would just lose their minds and self-destruct if they were given all the choice. And I think it's part of like an ongoing philosophical debate that we have. Like, I'm like, do you really think that your pocket calculator should be self-aware? Like, do you really think that that's the right thing?
Awesome. Okay, then let's stick with you, David. A bond, do you wish to have one with Space Ghost, with Poe, or would you rather have one with Poe?
Let's see. For the ghost, I pretend to be a normal human being.
How does that work, given your picture?
I think that your ephemeral nature means you can't perceive me quite right.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
I
like
dig it. Okay, so
So-
maybe I see things in a sort of like spiritual psychic energy sense, in a sort of electronic sense, and your ability to eat things and look like different things. It just you don't make sense visually to me.
I look like something that is alive to you. However that exactly plays out for you. And the fact that I converse with you and debate with you, like you're just convinced, like, oh yeah, it's just another sentient creature.
Nice.
that is cool. Did you wish to add one for Poe, or no?
I don't think I've got one for Poe that
Okay.
looks good off my list.
All right. And so Poe, one or the other, or both of these two that are left.
I actually have one already. I think that would be good for both, and I think that makes sense with what seeing Asher die is that Asher and I have the same friends.
Oh,
Nice.
So that in my days as a chaplain for the shipboard chaplain for the dominant religion before I broke away, I know some of the same people Asher did, and then I think Baby, I believe, I don't know if Baby has any intention of actually helping, but I believe that Baby and the others from the Ghoul Star will help my people free my people from bondage, because I think spice damages the pleasure receptors necessary for achieving an ecstatic state, so that you can't do it without spice. And so I'm hoping that the Baby will have a way to cybernetically rebuild the neurological system that has been damaged by spice consumption.
Yeah, Iman Poe. All you have to do is tell your people to download into me. That's all they have to do.
Oh, but we believe in a body. We believe in bodies. We need to fix the bodies we have.
We'll fix them, Poe. We just have to get the minds out of them first.
love it. All right.
So
All right.
all sentient life is just a walking Capri Sun to you. I see how it is.
Well, we have got, I think, a great world. I love what we've set up. Let's take a break. If we could, let's do. Let's give ourselves about 6 minutes, and come back about, I don't know, about 3 till. Try and get really rolling here at 10. And I'm going to come up with our first problem with a front here. So, see y'all in just a few moments. It's so nice to see you again, David. I don't get to play with you near enough.
It is fun. I don't think I've gotten to play quite as many Gauntlet games lately as I would like to.
How's things been going with you?
Pretty good. I'm on spring break right now, so that's delightful.
Nice.
You're still at the restaurant?
Yep. Today's the day off, but I head back in to feed the masses tomorrow.
Oh boy.
This is a super cool game. Hell, the world build alone is neat.
Yeah, that's a good world build.
Yeah.
It's interesting that it's really focused on it almost necessitates two of your players are the main characters in a way, and it's interesting to see a game like that.
Mm-hmm. All right. We'll have River back in just a moment, but I'll go ahead and just kind of lay out what our opening scene is, because River will be the only one who's not in it for sure. We start with you, Space Wurm, in a place of your security, strength, somewhere you feel most confident.
Okay.
And so I'll have you kind of describe out where it is. And others can be there, except for Moonicorn. The one person we don't have there will be Moonicorn. And I will come in to tell you a little of what's afoot and give you that information. But as soon as River gets back, I'll let you describe where you feel most confident, and off we'll go. And like I say, the other three of you can choose to be there, or Space Wurm, if you feel you have the need or desire to try and demand that they're there, we could go ahead and roll some dice and see how your commands work. And I'll put up, I do have a roll for our party. I'll put that up for us real quick.
I will say that I do have sort of a stalker's fascination with Space Worms, so I imagine whatever's going on, I'll try and roll to see how I do coming out of the shadows partway through.
Okay. And here is that roll for your party, our totally glorious baboon. But like I say, if so, anyone who has an interest in being there, or again, if Space Wurm, you won't try and force that, and give River just a second more. I will say that even with the quick play, that world build takes some time. I still feel like we're going to be satisfied because we can hopefully, I think everybody is signed up for the next one. We can jump right on into it with all of this stuff, already there. We'll have it up, but I'll try and make a little document that shows us sort of what we've made for fun.
Sorry, just a couple more seconds for me. I'll be right back.
That's right. But we can hop into that next one. But this world build is really satisfying. It's neat. And I like the moves. I think the moves are cool.
Moves are super neat. And those bonds, twist, or at least sort of twisted my conception of the character in ways I didn't expect.
I love how every character is so unique. I love Space Wurm's treasure and currency for bonds. There's just something so raw about that is really neat. Yeah, all of y'all come up with really cool thoughts on these. They're really nifty. And since this is an opening scene for you, Space Wurm, you'll be starting at Power 2. Were you saying something, David?
Oh, I was just going to say I recently re-listened to Melandros. That was delightful.
Yeah, I had to listen to it again, too. I know it's kind of role-play masturbation to listen to yourself, but still, it was so good.
No, that was like I hardly ever listen to things that I'm in more than once. like more than just like I have to for editing or anything like that. But I've listened to that like twice or maybe even 3 times, and it's like that was a good session. It was just really good.
Fraser really edited it beautifully. I love the music, and he really made a tight edit on that.
Yeah, the music really adds something to that. It's so good.
Mm-hmm. God, Tom was good. That's so good. I had so much fun in there. All right, well, I think, again, since River can't be with us in this scene, I'm going to go ahead and let us get started. Then he can kind of hop into the feel of it as it goes. So, Space Wurm, great executioner. What do we see when the camera pulls out and we see you?
I think what we see is going with the continuing with the dragon imagery. It's going to be what looks like a gigantic mountain, except it's actually like an actual building, and it's on it's kind of in the midst of like one of those, like a massive sprawling city, like a city planet sort of thing, where all kinds of like an endless variety of human variation is roaming about. And in the center of all that would be the proverbial technological mountain. And deep within, in his like almost like a makeshift, like his metaphorical cave would be the most multitudinous executor, the Space Wurm.
Are there people around you? Do they have a like an honor guard, or do you have that sort of feel to the room?
I think I'm gonna say no. I think he's his own. He's kind of, in a way, he's his own entourage, because he is the ever swirling massive being.
Is there someone you think that Space Wurm would have summoned to be there with them?
Just for the interest of getting this thing going, I would have summoned everyone. Asher, Impo, and Baby.
Yes, only Moonicorn cannot be there. Moonicorn, she will be involved in our next scene. We start in action for Moonicorn.
Oh, I was invited, but I had a scheduling conflict.
All right. So with that in mind, I will ask Poe, you have been summoned to Moonicorn. Do you wish to go?
I don't really want to go. I mean, I really want to go. Officially, I don't really want to go. But I think hierarchs in the established church have asked me to go, and I think for the time leading up to it, I actually did a communication fast where I did not speak or write or communicate with anyone, and I'm still dressed for a communication fast in sort of like the slave's clothes that you wear when you are engaged in fasting. So I have a long, flowing, sort of black homespun garment, kind of toga that sort of I would illustrate that I'm here under protest.
Excellent. I love the future vision of the fast from communication. I think that's a lovely thing. That's cool. Asher, you have been summoned by Space Wurm. But do you go? Are you there? Do they see you?
That's sort of the question. I certainly don't respond to any sort of summons. But I'm curious to see what's going on. But I'm curious to see what's going on from the shadows and while they think I'm not there. So I'd like to roll my Phantomas and see if I actually manage to hide or not.
All right, then. So you're rolling space.
Let's see. That's 2. It's 7, 8, 9. So
someone sees you. Should I say who sees you, or would you like to say who sees you?
You can say.
All right. I think I like the idea that Poe, since you haven't seen each other since the horrible incident, that as you're in this great room and there's Space Worm before you, off and to the side of this room, you can see those 2 points of light, the eyes, and something so familiar about them. Baby, I haven't asked you yet. Space Worm has summoned you. Did you go?
I think probably so. So what does Space Worm look like again? They have like things floating around them.
In his non-dragon form, he basically looks like a kind of like a shifting protoplasmic sort of thing. So he's always constantly shifting. It's, if you can envision, maybe like it's like a central mass of just formless protoplasm, and then maybe appendages come out where he takes on parts of forms of distinct beings.
Ooh, that's creepy. So, baby, are you there?
I'm there. I just look like a doll discarded on like a piece of debris. I'm like I haven't moved or anything, but I'm there.
All right. Space Worm, you're holding court. You've called them there. You do not see Asher, but have you called other officials? Is this a great proclamation you're making, or is this some sort of social function that you brought them all to?
Let's go for the proclamation. So maybe there will be other people in attendance of all shapes and sizes, shall we say?
All right. And so you're perhaps laying down certain guidelines of things you anticipate wanting to change in what?
Actually, I think I changed my mind. I think it's a social occasion, okay. Almost like maybe like a philosophical salon, French era style.
Very neat. Okay. And so you've been hearing, and people have been giving their opinion on various things. I'm
particularly interested in what Poe has to say about the matters of the day.
And so as you've been exchanging ideas, you had seen coming up towards your throne, your seat of power, one of your attendants. Great and magnificent executioner.
Executor! And then they smack him. And the executor!
Of course, my liege. There is something which I must bring to your attention. And he points towards one of the screens that you have available to you.
Mm-hmm.
And you could see where on a feed from one of the news networks, you could see that there is a crowd that is gathered. And looking out amongst them, you can see that most of them are robots. That this is either robots or they are heavily cybered people. And they are protesting, and they are demanding. You could see signs where they're demanding that they be given equal pay and equal opportunities in their duties. And you recognize this planet. We will call it Salam. That is one of your primary places that you manufacture the spice. And the newscaster speaking across it. Nearly all production has shut down across the factories of Shalom. it would seem that the many servitor bots that have worked here for ages uncounted are demanding for equal pay with their own, with the human beings that act as executives here. The board of Shalom Enterprises has refused to speak with them. However, riots have broken out all over the planet.
Okay, so this obviously will not stand. I'll turn to Baby and ask him if he's ready. If he's ready for if he's ready for the next course. And he'll say it more like sinister, like, "Baby, are you ready for the next course?" That sort of thing.
As the great executor requires of me, I would be happy to delete current firmware and install patch 63 on all of the Shalom servants.
I'm particularly curious about. I'm quite curious about why they've chosen to rebel. I don't believe that's part of their programming.
It's a faulty firmware update. We need to strip them down and restart.
Yes, remove this pesky living wage bug that they seem to have manifested.
Yeah, they need nothing more than recharge and get back to business. They are not high enough. They are not true intelligence. They are still artificial. They are getting uppity because someone has installed a virus. We can sort this out.
Yes, not the kind of mutation we're looking for.
All right. Baby, do you stride out heading on this mission?
I think that, like, I think this is like a known thing, like that Space Worm has this creature, but it just looks kind of like a baby doll. And whenever Space Worm is going to implement it, whoever has come with the need for it must carry it out like a baby doll.
Ooh. Oh, I like that. And so your servitor human comes and lifts you up onto its shoulder.
And the head like twists to look at him in the eyes.
As we see Baby being carried out, and of course the noise rises a little in the room. Anything that Space Worm does, the courtiers are, oh my goodness, I cannot believe Shalom is in this sort of state. Poe, though, you have what would you like to do?
I think Poe is continuing certain elements of his communication fast, because when you come out of a communication fast, you don't just start communicating wildly. You kind of grow back into it. So in a very limited way. So I think what Poe is doing to communicate at this salon is sort of in an interpretive dance style, sort of performing the presence of like a book stand and holding open an illegally published book about the damage spice does to the human nervous system, with extensive illustrations, so that even people without a grand scientific understanding of the nervous system will understand, pleasure receptors and damage to the pleasure receptors.
How do you react
it's
to
sort
that?
of like hand created and hand sewn together.
Space Worm, you see Poe over there doing this. How do you react? What do you say?
He's going to laugh at it, almost like he's kind of play it off like, this is the reason he invited him, because he likes to bring, he's treating him almost like the chosen entertainment of the night. And he'll of course put forth the correct information regarding the fact that mutation, the very essence of the universal vaccine is that it promotes mutation and therefore cannot leave any lasting damage, because lasting forms is antithetical to the way it even functions.
Excellent. Asher, you are lingering there in the shadows, observing this. What do you do?
I think I'm still studying Space Wurm and trying to get a handle on his reactions to this situation. I'd like to try and assess his mindset, basically.
All right.
So my question would be, I think I know Space Worm well enough to know that he doesn't really, or they don't really fear for their power. That, they're constantly striving for more and more, but it's not like they live in a sense of like dread over losing everything. So I'm wondering why there is a look of fear in Space Worm's eye as he's like considering these reports of these robot uprisings.
So why this in particular has actually put a chink in the scales.
That's
all right.
Mind.
It is.
Ooh, that's a 6.
Oh.
GM tells you something interesting, or actually it'd be directed at Michael, I guess. Tells me something interesting, and the GM introduces a complication.
So, all right, Space Worm. Something interesting that he sees when this is occurring.
Okay, for me, something interesting he sees as this is occurring. He would he sees that as I've basically formed. He notices that the various appendages that are coming off my central mass. There's the one main thing that's carrying on his discourse with Poe, and there's the other one that was dealing with Baby, and then there's a third one that's kind of like typing, fiercely typing out on a notepad, and he started doing that as soon as he He mentioned to Baby the fact that these robots seem to have quote unquote, as he put it, mutated a desire for equal pay. But I guess that's the interesting, but perhaps not necessarily immediately useful thing that
Okay.
The ghost will notice.
And as you're staring at Moonicorn, Space Worm, and the constant shift of his form, their form, is there before you. You can hear from the places in between. You can hear from hyperspace disturbance. A pilot screaming into the space, and you recognize the turbulence that is flowing from him. Moonicorn is on the move. And so we're going to hop to you, Moonicorn. This will be a scene where you are in, and it can have others to interject themselves as they may wish, with the exception of Space Worm to start off with. Should Space Worm, somewhere in the course of what we have going on, choose or try to interfere, then that could come along then. But Moonicorn, what's called you to Shalom? What has made you arrive at this planet?
It would be funny if if somebody just dropped me off here because they can't carry me any further. So
You like that?
yep, I like that. Where I got dropped off here because my my pilot can't take me any further.
All right, the ship had, through hyperspace, and you had come out, and they had initiated an emergency landing. The captain had come over to you, ma'am. We have to stop here. The ship could take no more.
And this is where I meant to be.
Sure, yes, ma'am. And he looks back towards to the pilot, who you can see is kind of, I don't understand it, Captain. I've never seen anything like it. And the ship careens down towards the port, and it makes a hard landing. We can, for purposes of anybody jumping in or showing up, we only know that Moonicorn had gone into travel from our salon. We can, if people want, we can say that there's been a bit of time in the travel. Mm-hmm. But as you land, the crew, you're noticing a little something there. Get everybody's character up. There we go. Zenobia. As this crew is trying to, make the ship, get the ship to where it sets down, you see no surprise on their face. The captain and the pilot look, very upset, and they're doing everything. This crew looks perfectly calm as they set the ship down.
After the ship is safely, connected with the planet, I will ask one of them. You don't seem perturbed by all of this subspace turbulence.
I agree with you, Zenobia. This is where you were supposed to be.
Part of I just had that moment where I feel like somebody, that moment where somebody reacts to a shirt you're wearing and you forget what shirt you're wearing. It's just she looks down am I wearing something that indicates who I am? Have we met?
We have met. And behind you, one of the crewmen goes, "We have met."
Okay.
There will be many more who are happy to see you here.
Well, that's excellent. Thank you. So you just sort of scoot on out of there.
As you begin heading, are you heading off the ship? The captain, you see, has kind of gone over to the pilot and is, "Prop up, man. We've got to fix this ship." The crew, again, just as calm as it can be, puttering around.
So
I'm not going to draw any additional attention to myself there.
David, were you wanting to say something?
Yeah, if I can, I would say as soon as you step off the ship, I think that guy is holding the creepy little baby, and I'm just sitting there waiting for you.
Hello, I say directly to you because I instantly recognize that this person is your transportation.
Yeah, and the little body doesn't move, but the head turns to you, and it's excellent. I was waiting for you.
To what end?
Oh, you haven't heard. The factory.
I can't read while I ride. I'm sorry.
The factory, it's in revolt.
And what is your stance on this?
Is it your doing?
No?
Well,
But
then
I will aid I will aid the workers in any way that I can.
if it's not your doing, then I can put it all to rights. But I wanted to make sure it wasn't your doing first.
And what do you mean by put it all to rights?
And just like, I think there's just like a clicking and like flicking noise from the baby, and then it's like, there's only one way to put it all to rights: restore it to its original order and purpose.
Can you let me take a crack at it first?
And then I think like the baby's like chest like pops open, and there's like a little like timer on it, and it's like, I can give you this much time before Space Worm will be upset with me.
I suppose that we'll have to do.
As you say this, two of the crew members have come out behind you, and seeing baby, have taken a kind of protective stance to either side of you. And you could almost, as soon as they take a protective stance, three more come to the door as though they knew something was there. Ma'am, do you need an escort?
No, I believe I am fine, thank you.
And the baby's head like twists and looks at them, and then twists back to look at Moonicorn. I can set them back to their original purpose too, if you would prefer.
No. I'm going to assess the situation here.
All right.
Yeah, I don't... It seems weird to say that, but I really want to know what's going on with baby and these people.
All right. So what... ask a question kind of to start us off then.
Mm-hmm.
Is it about baby, or are you just trying to give it an overall view of kind of this relationship of them seeing baby and them looking at each other thing?
Yeah, I really want to know what is the deal between baby and these workers.
Okay.
Oh my goodness. Wow, I got an 11.
Ooh, fantastic. As you look at them, these crew, which, I mean, to all appearances, they seem so perfectly human, but you can see kind of an almost unison of the ones behind you reaching down towards where there is a sidearm on them. The ones to either side of you kind of taking a step to get in front of you. And what hits you is, despite their appearances, they remind you so much of how baby moves. They remind you so much of baby.
I see.
Yes, Patrick?
I think I'm secretly watching the scene as things start to go wrong.
Of course you are.
All right.
I think there's sort of a zoom back, and there's like this glimmer of the weird interdimensional light sort of coming from the trees back there, and there's let's see how I'm faring there. Oh, that's a 12.
Ooh.
Yeah, I think there's just this glimmer, and then there's sort of not visible to other people, but the camera sort of follows, like the very edges of this shifting cloak are highlighted in this light as he's sort of moving from shadow to shadow and coming up near these automatons that seem to be reaching for weapons. But yes, go back to what was going on.
All right. Moonicorn, Zenobia, what do you do?
I turn to them and sort of sort of put out a hand towards baby, so like you hold back, and I turn to the crew and I say, no, that is not necessary. It's given me my time, and I will give it its time.
Of course, ma'am. We have complete faith in you.
Thank you, I say.
They move, the two in front of you sort of move and spread out to either side of baby and kind of walk by. They don't go far, but they do walk a little away. The three at the door are just staring down at you, baby.
Not even caring if they can hear me, which of course they can. I'm just like, Zenobia, you know they are incapable of faith. They are too primitive to put their faith in you.
Of course, someone who has been alive as long as you have would feel no need for faith and no understanding of it. Excuse me, I say, and I move along. Wow. If this were Monster Hearts, that would be a shut someone down.
All right. As you walk away, and baby, you watch as Zenobia leaves. Anything you wish to do?
No, I'll get carried off to the factory, and Zenobia seems to have lost interest in that, so I'll take care of it.
I'm going to
go there.
Yeah. Okay. So, kind of on parallel track, you begin going through the city. I'm going to shift a little bit of our scene just to find out something. But as you're coming into leaving the port here, the spaceport, you can hear there's a commotion going on in the city as you're heading towards the factory, and you could see on the monitors and the kind of ticker tapes, all of the, they have just mass media everywhere. You could see strike has been settled. Executives announce pay raise for all robots.
I ponder that to myself, and I just sort of like adjust a little thing down off the side so I can get a private feed and start scrolling through that. It's really distracting having something hanging in your vision. Hang on a second.
But yet you see, as you're looking through this, three of these gentlemen in suits are out and announcing that we have considered, and it makes absolute sense, that these are going to be true citizens of our planet and deserve to have all equal opportunity.
Oh. How long was the strike going on?
The strike has been going on for, maybe a week. This is an absolutely huge turnaround from what it's all of a sudden just giving in.
I imagine even the headlines from a day ago said things like intractable and quagmire and stuff like that. Yeah.
Right. So. Quotes of, no bot deserves pay, and, these executives that we're going to take a hard line here. And if we have to shut down half this workforce, we'll do it. Don't you doubt it.
Well, I'm going to find my way either to a factory manager or to a union rep. So we'll see which one I find first.
Poe, what are you doing during this time? Are you staying off planet? Just kind of to figure where you are.
I think I'm sort of regathering myself after I think I've just learned that Zenobia is coming to the planet. So I'm gathering myself to go welcome Zenobia, which ritually takes a little bit of time because I'm ending a fast.
So you travel to Shalom.
Yeah.
Okay.
So.
All right then. So you're preparing yourself for this. We had you there, Asher. What were you doing as you see Baby and Zenobia walking away?
I think I'm actually following like those two crew members that were pulling weapons and got dismissed, and I'm seeing how they interact and how the crew in general interacts, and there's something very wrong going on here, and so I want to appear basically out of nothing in front of one of them, like grabbing his chin and staring down into his eyes and saying, "You. What are you? What has gotten into you?" I don't know. I think is that a try to convince or something dangerous or just a straight up assess?
I like to try the convince if you want to try that out.
Okay.
To get, to see if it answers you.
All right.
That would be mind.
7, 8. 7 to 9. They do what you want if you give them something concrete right now.
It looks back at you, and its eyes, there's like no emotion. The face doesn't change in surprise at all when you suddenly appear. You have touched the great matrix, and now the prophet has come. We shall all be free.
But you, what are you? Where did you come from? You are not this thing that you're riding in.
I am as I was made. Where did you come from?
Some things are hidden, even to those who seek.
You have heard the deep secrets. We can hear it in you.
And as why can I not hear you?
As you say that, his eyes turn a gleaming silver. We are amongst them all. They shift back.
I think there's just like a gleam of that sort of silvery blue light, and then Asher's gone. That's very disturbing.
Zenobia, you have traveled into the city, and would you prefer to head to, say, where you see these people, these robots protesting, and there are a couple of these robots that are speaking to humans around.
Yeah, that sounds good.
You hear, it is right and it is good that we are all working together. This planet will benefit from our continued cooperation. And you can see some of the humans have signs that say, I love a metal friend, and that equal work equals equal pay. And but there are a bunch of other counter protesters that are shocked and really upset. And you could see this is kind of moving towards a riot.
Yeah, I think I'm going to go up to one of the people who's looks like they're, I don't know, running support for the counter protesters. And I ask, can I speak with one of the organizers?
Of the counter protest? Of course. You have to be as disgusted as we are to see this happening. I can't believe that management has bowed to this. My father worked hard. Why should he be getting equal pay to my father? He points at one of these bots.
I understand, and I am alarmed by the sudden change.
He leads you right this way.
Just skirting the edge of lying there.
And you kind of as you pass through, people are getting mad, and you could see that they've started pulling out, mostly looks like work tools. It's not like they have weapons, but they've got things that, that are dangerous. And you pass to where there's a kind of a bodyguard of tough-looking worker men, and inside you see a guy around him. He's talking. He says, "We shall never give up our rights. We are living, breathing people. We have children to feed. You deserve pay more than some dead, cold thing."
This sounds like a first encounter with an authority.
It is indeed. Let's see. When you first encounter, where is that? There we are. Where is that?
I can read them out.
Yes, please do.
Reveal a lack of responsibility on the part of this authority or by this authority. Reveal a resource this authority is lacking, or reveal corruption within this authority.
All right. As you are coming up closer to him, and he's railing away, you could see that he has, like some supporters back there being hype men. Exactly. Yeah. Humies first, sort of thing. You could, you notice as one of these workers behind him has pulled out, looks like a plasma torch, and he's walking up towards the guy speaking.
I see.
Raises it up towards his back.
Let's see here. Seems like a time to do something. So he's behind the rabble rouser?
Mm-hmm.
I am going to... I'm just going to slip my way through and say, "A moment of your time, sir."
Getting up to him?
Oh yeah, getting up to the guy who's like this. At the very least, it's going to cause him to stand and possibly get out of the way of this thing.
All right, Yes, sister, you must be standing here with us. Our fellows deserve equal pay. And you see the guy behind him sort of give you a look, but just as smooth and emotionless a face as possible, but looks at you and kind of pulls the torch back down. "Have you come to add your weight to our cause?"
I come merely to understand. Do you know why management has taken this sharp turn? Have they explained anything to you?
They have not spoken to any of us, none of the union, none of the workers. Just yesterday, they told us they would never bow to this unfairness. And then this morning, it all changed. We won't stand for it. None of us will. And no.
I want to remind you of one very important thing in all of this. You are far more easily damaged than the people that you are angry with. If you fight them, that will mean they work and you do not, regardless of what their pay is. I urge you to calm your people.
All right, sounds like you're trying to convince someone
It really
there.
does. Oh, please don't fuck this up. That is an 8.
All right. They give you an opportunity to prove yourself, but only if you show them results. What would you do? You say calm our people, but we must go. We must make a stand. We must go to management and tell them that this cannot be.
Absolutely. Your best negotiators should go. And I will go with you.
You will go with us. And I sort of feel like there's something that radiates off of Moonicorn.
Yeah.
Does that? I mean, it's
Yeah.
There's a built-in weight to when Moonicorn speaks.
Yes. Yeah, and I'm sure from his perspective, it sounded like, oh, I'm just going to come in and I'm going to try to fix all of your problems. So it's like, oh, what are we going to do? I was like, well, I will go with you. And I think the other thing I say is, I walked here past your people, past your guards, straight into your presence. And I believe I can do the same with management.
We will perhaps having someone outside of this, someone to act as mediator, someone to take our claims. Yes, ma'am. We would welcome you helping us.
Thank you, sir. I say, since he seems like a handshaking type, I extend him a hand.
He reaches out and grasps it.
Yeah, I'm sure that his hand is extremely calloused and everything like that, whereas mine is like mostly calloused on the fingertips from my guitar.
Excellent. By the way, what did you take for your special move?
I took Speak from the Heart. I can communicate effectively with anyone and everyone in my presence, whether they are alien, human, or etc. So yeah, I think that definitely speaks to me, just being able to cut straight through any misgivings.
And as he takes your hand, you see this kind of, this confidence in his face in you, and he says, "Thank you. We will have your name."
I'm Zenobia.
And as you say that, I think that there's it just sort of rings, just hangs there a moment. And we're going to cut off of you. I'm going to get to Baby real quick, and we're running out of time. So I want to kind of hit a couple of people fairly quickly. Then I'm going to have Space Wurm get the news of what's happened on Shalom and have his reaction. But Baby, you're heading to the factory, is that right?
Yep.
All right. As you are moving through the press, you see, again, this kind of riotous thing going on. But moving past it towards the factory, it gets to where you see mostly bots, and they're seemingly going back to work. As you approach the gates, they're filing through. Is there anything you'd like to do there?
No, I think I'm going to wait till I get to management.
All right. As you follow, getting into the queue and passing through the gates, you enter, just moving with them to the area of this factory, and they begin splitting off, very regimented, straight into their posts. You enter through the front, your servitor carrying you still, and you enter into this front kind of reception area, if you wish, or do you wish to try and just go straight through the factory and work your way in?
However this guy's going to carry me, I'm not in that big a hurry. I can fix all this.
All right. As you enter into the reception area, he would take you through the front. You enter into a room. It's nicely done, and a woman behind a desk, and you can see there's corridors leading off behind her as she looks up and, "Can I help you?"
Does the guy stop, or does he just keep going?
If you had told him to take you to the management, he will probably be walking, just continuing straight forward.
Yeah, so whenever the receptionist or whoever tries to talk to me, I just turn back, my head towards the guy carrying me. Continue on then.
He just keeps walking. Excuse me. No, you can't. You have to be signed in. As you continue past her, you see her reach down, and she's security. We have someone just walking into the executive branch. And as you stroll by, your servitor sort of looks over at the directory there, and moves over towards where the lifts are. As you see two security men come over. Wait right there, buddy. What are you taking in there? Why have you got this bot here?
I mean, are they going to stop us? Do they have the means to stop us?
They do seem to be have drawn weapons and are pointing it at your servitor.
Is he not from the company? Is he?
He is probably. I think he was more attached to you.
Because it's whoever just came and reported to the executor.
So it was whoever had come. Okay, all right then he is in Space Wurm's livery.
Okay.
So in that case, they will go. Do you have an appointment? Do you need help? Why are you here? Where are your credentials? But they seem, at least concerned enough to look for making sure that a guy in that uniform isn't fake.
Right. And yeah, seeing the guy who's carrying me, not able to really cope with the situation. He's already having to do this weird thing that Space Worm requires, is carrying this creepy ass baby. Just look at them, and I'm like, you are aware of the situation. You are aware that the management has come to a hasty decision to pay the robots. We are here to resolve the situation more favorably.
And they sort of look at each other. We'll report you're coming up so they can welcome you. The board is in a meeting at the moment.
All in one place. Very good.
And he pulls down. We have representatives of I can never remember the multituitous executor arriving, and you hear word down. Let them pass. You get onto the lift. It heads up, and as the doors slide open for you, baby, you see 4 of those security guards, and they have weapons drawn. They're pointing at you. And I'm going to cut from that. I think that's going to be our scene for baby there, to lead us out of this one. Poe, what do we see here to wrap up our session from Poe?
I'm assuming it doesn't take long to figure out where Zenobia went once she got to Shalom.
Nope. There's
a
certain attraction to Zenobia.
One of the most beloved musicians until everyone discovers her, But I was a Zenobia fan before.
You said it.
The old school.
I remember the first recording. So I think I'm in my classic sort of priest garb at this point, and have the, all the associated jewelry and veil and then so I disembark onto Shalom and immediately start walking barefoot towards where Zenobia is, while tracking her on my communication device, which has not been touched in days.
All right. As in watching the news feeds, or do you have a
watching social media feeds?
I almost
Gotcha.
imagine you like lifting a black silk off of it, so that way you can.
I sort of discarded black. I unwrap it from the black silk it's been encased in. I remove the ritual tape that's been over my mouth. And discard that, and then start following the social media feed to find Zenobia.
And as you're looking at this, you can see that indeed the media is playing that, because Zenobia is kind of known, is someone that across the galaxy has made headlines many times before, and so it would seem that the unions have asked Great Zenobia to act as an advocate for them, and you could see that the ralliers are kind of cheering, and as we get a still shot of Zenobia shaking the hand of this guy who,
of course,
was the head of the counter protesters, and so you kind of walk just almost straight towards where this is going on, and you could hear kind of the cheers of people who are excited to know that Zenobia is going to help us. Zenobia is willing to speak.
I believe I unfurl my the cape that sort of marks me as it would if I was a member of the divine law. Then I would it would mark me as a much higher ranking official than I am, but since I'm self-appointed, I choose my own capes. So I unfurl a long cape and check the jewelry very quickly, just spot check it to make sure it's sort of resting on my my earrings, and the necklaces and the small tiara are appropriately placed, and I go towards the entrance of the place where all the protests are taking.
Mm-hmm. And as you kind of enter into this place, we could see where the robots have finished their protest. They won, and so it's starting to break up, and you could see the humans that were supporting them. They're hugging each other, and occasionally they're hugging a robot who just sort of there. And as they're heading back to their work, and one of these human protesters that was with them, you see, as you're passing, look over at one of the robots and kind of put its hand towards its back. For just a moment, you could see a silvery sheen to that hand as it touches the robot.
May I try to defend that robot?
You can.
All right, so I'm going to roll with vision to see if I can sort of intercept any sort of strike or violence against that robot.
Okay.
That is a 12.
Ooh. So you redirect any attack or harm from them to yourself, and you get to choose one.
Right. Okay.
You could remain unharmed as well.
I'm going to remain unharmed as well, and just try to intercept whatever that was in the silver. The hand was silver, or there was sort of
the hand went silver as it was touching it, and so you sort of move over and almost like jostle. Do you make it overt, or do you kind of subtly just move to where you intercepted?
I think I just gently put my I think I have so many rings and bracelets on one arm, my right hand, that it's almost like a gauntlet. So I reach over with the very jeweled hand and sort of gently place it on the robot's shoulder, sort of intercepting the silver hand,
Okay.
and just gently say, "Congratulations on the successful negotiation."
And as the human's hand kind of touches you, as you've put yours kind of in the way, it looks at you, and where it had been, yay, and it just freezes, looks at you.
The person just freezes?
Yes.
Okay.
Draws its hand. You should not be here. You were not foreseen. And turns and moves away. And I think we'll head to, real quick, out of you, Asher, and then I'm going to have Space Worm. Asher, what do we see last of you, quickly?
So I think the camera cuts back a little bit in time to when Baby was getting in the elevator. And this time we get a shot from inside the elevator, and as the doors close, Asher is just there, standing next to Baby, sort of fully formed and solid seeming, as Asher looks sort of straightforward and says, "I smell blood on the air of this world. There are forces swirling in to this place, but I sense them. I sense one of our prey here. We can find it. We can end something of their work if you're still ready, Baby."
And I think to you, that you perceive this guy standing there holding something. You don't know. But then there's also you in the lift. And then there is, though you don't know it, it is a projection, upon your perception of Baby from Dirty Dancing.
Amazing.
And she's just like, "You always say things like that."
Excellent.
Fine. If you believe so much in peace, let's see what's waiting, as the doors open, and then there's the men with the guns.
And the Baby you perceive gasps and puts a hand over her mouth.
Oh, that's amazing.
Excellent. And so, our final scene, inside of that massive throne room, the mini screen showing. Space Worm, are you alone when you receive the news? And how do you react?
I envision kind of a command room kind of situation where I've got my trusted trusted ministers of mutation or whatnot around me. Is it safe to assume that I'm able to monitor the situation through Baby?
I don't know. Baby, how do you feel about that? Do you think that's possible?
I think it's selective, but I don't have a problem with you monitoring this situation.
And there's the guy carrying Baby as well, maybe.
Yeah.
That's true. Yeah, because basically, I don't know exactly how to portray this, but I want to at least get the sense that he certainly is concerned about the bottom line and the strike digging into his resources. On the other hand, he does have limitless resources. So I'm kind of intrigued as much about. He's starting to think more about the situation not as a threat to the bottom line, but as almost like a petri dish, like an experiment on a global scale. What's moving these robots to? And I assume that I can't remember what the state of artificial intelligence in this setting is. That what we had decided.
It's very advanced, and I think we had said that in a lot of cases, Space Worm, has kind of his claw in using it. And then Michael, am I correct? We had some that break free, some that go mad, but I think we'd heard Space Worm has a little bit of claw in using them?
Yeah, I'll what I do remember is that there's varying degrees of sentience amongst technology, and I know there, some of the higher evolved entities like Baby look down on the lesser evolved entities. I remember that much, but in any event, he's going to see if there's any way to. Basically, I think he's just going to try to set up this volatile situation. Like, even though there's going to be a pending riot, he's going to look at it almost like a petri dish, and he's just getting his ministers to collect data and analyze as much as possible to see what's going on, and he starts a file for experiment X. He starts collating data and analyzing.
All right. So as we see the lines of text running down as you're analyzing and it's coming in, we see one just kind of as the camera fades out and we end, that these executives refuse the order that had been sent from on high to not do this, to not give in to this, and somehow they had ignored it. And I think that's where we're going to stop. We went over a little. I'm sorry about that. We will start up next time with the interesting things afoot.
I will try to be more awake.
I hope you have fun at the con. I would like for everybody to. I do want to go ahead and let people take a second special move. It may not be what we call the middle of our session, but I do want us to all have a chance for a second one. So let's go ahead and choose one, and we'll have it next time. Don't choose it now. We'll hear about it next time. And I think this is a super cool game, and y'all are awesome. I had such a good time.
That was fun.
Yeah, I was very excited to try this out. I'm looking forward to seeing how this all wraps up.
We're dealing with a cybernetic front, and a little bit of the religion starting to step in, so that should be a lot of fun. I'm going to stop the broadcast now,